Well, breaking news. About a week ago, Tinder has added a height preference for paid users on there because there's multiple levels of memberships you can get on there. I personally used to use Tinder a lot. I've paid for it even because, really, as a guy, if you don't invest in dating apps, unless you're like a Zac Efron, Justin Bieber type, you're really not gonna have much success on there. But I'm glad I've been off of it because every year that I've used them on and off throughout my adult life, past whatever 10 years or so maybe. And it just gets harder and harder, right? I mean, you're really invisible to most women, even if you are tall. I mean, it is. I know guys that are over 6 feet tall who have the same struggles as guys who are 5'8" or whatever, right? Um, But the dating scene is a really big mess, and this is causing an uproar on the X community on Twitter because a lot of incel stuff, femstel stuff, red pill type stuff, manosphere, femcells, feminism type shit, whatever you want to call this stuff. A lot of this is coming up on my feed, even like dating type stuff. Causes an uproar, right? But I don't really think this is going to change anything because the women that have height preferences, they're, because apparently guys lie. It's usually like 2 inches. I didn't even know that guys did this, honestly, but according to the articles I was reading, apparently guys typically lie about 2 inches with their height, which I don't get what the point of that is, of lying about your height. Because if you meet the girl in person, she's going to find out, and then you just look bad for lying. So it's like, what else have you lied about? But it's not going to change anything because the women that are already seeking tall guys are going to continue to do that, whether there was a high preference or not. And the women who don't care just aren't going to look for tall guys. They're just going to look for whoever they might like. I know Bumble. I've used Bumble before. I haven't really had any success on Bumble. Of course, I mean, I've gone on dates on there. But really, the dating app that I've used where I had the most success was Tinder, to where I met the most women, actually had the most dates. I even had a girlfriend at one point a few years back, front, that I met through Tinder. Um, so I've just had a lot more success on that app, and it's never had height preferences. You could put your height or whatever, but it's like Bumble. They have height preferences. So I get, if they are looking for a tall guy, which obviously the standards of women today, they have very shallow standards. Women do not care about a guy's moral character, if he knows truth or not. Everything with women is about the aesthetic, how the guy looks, how is he gonna look on my Instagram, what are my friends gonna think of him, what's my family gonna think of him, and then money, stuff like that. Is this guy popular? Does he have a good social life? This and that. See, they might say they're looking for a good man. All of these American modern women, they always everything the modern woman says she looks for, quite frankly, is just not the case because the guys they date, the guys they've been with, are the complete opposite of what they say that they want. They're just looking for boy toys. That's really what these modern women are looking for, right? And it's because a lot of modern women work. They have college degrees. I at least women in my age bracket. I'm in my late 20s. Like girls in their 20s and 30s, even. I notice that most of them are college educated. Most of them have careers of some sort. And I noticed that most guys aren't even as established as women. There's even articles coming out talking about how women are dominating men in home ownership and all that stuff. And obviously, the argument for that is because of divorce, which I think actually is the number one reason. But you have to understand, too, that more women are working than men. There's more women in college, graduating college, overall excelling in education, grades K through 12, than men. Um, Higher graduation rate for women. So women are doing better in terms of the societal norms, right? Because the society that's built, as I've spoken many times, it's been made to isolate, in particular, young men. Like men in general are isolated in society and not treated nearly as well as women. Like women will never understand the loneliness that men feel, and women will always say, "Well, men don't open up. It's their fault." It's now we have no one to open up to. I have family, right? I have friends, some friends, but you know, there's plenty of guys who don't have family, who might be older, who might not even have many friends. And most women, like, let's be real, they don't want to hear your problems. Like, that's the thing that women don't seem to get. It's like when men open up to them, it's like they really don't care about the modern man's problems. Like, you'd go tell the average American woman, at least, the problems of men, and like, they really don't care It's crazy. But like when you tell the problems of women to men, typically I feel like men care, but we are in a world where the antidote to all the feminism stuff that's gone on, the girl power, was, red pill. Started with all those YouTubers and MGTOW. Then it became the Andrew Tates, and now all these social media influencers that talk about red pill ideologies or have this hyper masculine mindset, right? So, someone left a comment. I forgot his YouTube name. It was in one of my previous videos, I think, about the how American men are the most lonely in the world. And the comment said that if every man had some sort of woman in his life, that really truly likes him, then a lot of men would not be lonely. And I think that's totally true. Because the male loneliness epidemic or whatever, it really does stem from men just being completely lonely from women more so. Okay, we could argue that yeah, men don't have as many friends as back in the days. Men aren't going out, putting themselves out there, making plans. I noticed that women definitely in today's world put themselves out there more in terms of a social life and are better at making plans and going out with each other as compared to men. But what's going on is the average woman, right, has been socially engineered and conditioned as not female nature or we got to get women back in the kitchen. It's not stuff like that. It's the powers that be have socially engineered the woman to be a certain way because the men will follow, right? And so the woman has been socially engineered through decades of conditioning, through what they see in their environment, what they grew up around, with their parents already also being under the same social conditioning that we're under now. They have extremely unrealistic and high standards, especially with the more modern Hollywood movies that we saw growing up, through music, through the TV shows, and then social media came about, and that really messed everything up because that made, of course, access for men for women very, very, very easy from a super young age. Like women will learn in their teenage years, especially today, where I mean, social media has evolved obviously so much the past 15 years since it got big through starting with Facebook, right? But women learn so young that wow, men are easy. Oh, excuse that car outside. But women have learned from an extremely young age that men are easy to manipulate. Men are just horny, right? Because men are so desperate and lonely because men don't have nearly as much options as women. So men have to constantly just take what they can get and constantly be putting themselves out there. Because if a man doesn't put himself out there at all, he will never even be looked at or acknowledged by women. I mean, it's so rare, right? That a woman will message a guy on social media first, go up to a guy in person, start a conversation with him. It's happened, and it happens. Happened to me before, but it's rare, right? So, because the modern woman doesn't look at the average man is lonely. And the average man is not going to have a girlfriend, wife, reproduce. This is just facts. We already see this going on. This isn't like conspiracy speculation or whatever. This is going on. I'm in my late 20s. Like, a lot of guys my age don't have much experience with women. But the opposite is true with women. They have a lot of experience because, again, from a young age, they just get so many guys throwing themselves at them that it's like this is why the modern woman cannot relate to the modern man in terms of social life because the modern man is just completely invisible to most women. Really what it is, if you want to look at it from a number standpoint, is 80% of men are invisible to, I would say, at least 80% of women. And then you just have a whole uneven playing field then, right? Because you basically have 20% of women that go after 80% of men, and then you have pretty much 100% of men going after all the women, no matter what category of hotness they are. Because let's be real, in today's world, a woman doesn't have to have money, be college educated. She could be a bum. She could have a bad personality. She could be fat. She could be ugly. She doesn't have to take care of herself. And guys will still want her. Because guys, again, one are desperate for sex because women think it's all about sex, which, yeah, for a lot of guys, it might be. Because, again, the modern man has been conditioned to be a certain way. It's not like all women. It's the modern, the society is very hypersexual. And also, if men just weren't so lonely, right? You wouldn't see this like horniness from them, if you want to call it that. You wouldn't see them paying for OnlyFans, the simping on social media, the constant messaging, weird, creepy, desperate, lonely behavior. You wouldn't see it if men maybe even had support systems, real ones, an even playing field of dating. People actually went outside. You see, the bigger picture really is if people snapped out of their social conditioning, because the issue is a lot of us are old and grown now that we're not coming out of it. I mean, especially in a world where it benefits certain people. Like the world we live in, there's going to be certain time periods, whatever, where certain groups are benefited, right? Get get the better end of the stick, you know? And we just so happen to be in a time where women do have the upper hand with men in many ways, right? Now, of course, men are always going to be more physically dominant, but the vast majority of men, I would say, wouldn't hit a woman, and I would say the vast majority of women would hit men, because it's funny in today's world, I see so many videos online, especially on X, of like women fighting men and them starting it. It's not like the man really escalates it, but it's what they've turned the American woman into is a monster. I don't see much good women at all. I see better women and foreign women that are here. There's a lot. I live in New Jersey. It's very big Latino population in the whole state, and in America as a whole. And I mean, you talk to those women. I meet girls maybe, whether they be from Europe or whatever. And I mean, it's just they're so different. They're so nice and pleasant to talk to. Like you can sense their femininity. You can just sense these are real women and women who would actually make good partners and good wives and good mothers even. But other countries have been socially conditioned, the women there, the men there, to in a similar way to Americans. It's not like they're the one all be all answer. There's going to be problems, of course, with them too. It's just that when you grow up in this country, in America, it really doesn't teach you any moral character. On both ends, whether you're a man or a woman, there is no moral character or any truth that is taught. People think the truth is some sort of conspiracy theory. It's a lie. People think lies are the truth. And like I said, people are so deep in these lies that they're probably not going to come out of it. And I know I'm digressing so much. I started off with the 6 foot thing with Tinder, but I want you to see the bigger picture of what's really the issue here. It's not really like I understand it is bad that a lot of women are viewing men through height, and that is just really shallow behavior because again, it's let's look at this rationality and call it rationally, excuse me, and call it what it is instead of just like, well, people have preferences. Yeah, sure, people have preferences, but when it comes to height, no one can control that. People might say, and then a lot of guys' argument with the women saying height is the weight. And you have to understand when it comes to weight, that is controllable. But also, some people just come with different body shapes, right? And it's inexcusable, in my opinion, whether you're a man or a woman, to be obese or whatever. I mean, really, because it shows a lack of self respect. It shows that you don't care about yourself, and it's unhealthy. There is none of this big and beautiful stuff. It's unhealthy. You are at risk for diseases and early death. It's not attractive to anyone, whether you're a man or a woman, being overweight. So the last thing I want to touch on with the X community, because obviously on the X community, the incels are all posting about the height thing. Women always talk about height, this and that. Which sure, it's true to an extent that women cared about height, and you gotta understand these incels. Who again, some of these accounts are probably bots, rage baits accounts, because then there's also femcel accounts, which is like man hating accounts. But the incels are women hating accounts. It's really what they are. Excuse me. And listen, me as a guy, I totally relate to what they speak to. I don't agree with everything they say, but I relate to the loneliness, the lack of care and companionship that they feel, especially from women. I totally relate to that and other stuff they talk about. But it just really makes me sad to see the dating scene and how messed up it is on both sides, right? We probably have the world record of the most single people ever in history, and it's going to get worse. We're not going to see people having kids as much, getting married. We already see it today. It's not like it's not happening. It is, and it's only getting worse. And until we tackle the root issues, until people can start acknowledging the bigger picture and truth, not just with dating, but with politics and what's really going on in our world, especially financially, because if you're not feeling it financially right now, I mean, you're really, I don't know, you're just fooling yourself because uh, this cannot continue the way the economy is, the way society is going. America is completely tanking. Men and women are completely divided because that's really what it comes down to is men and women being completely divided. It's the same way they would divide Democrats and Republicans, right? They just divide people on all spectrums, whether it be through race, through religion, through gender, through sexual orientation, through different philosophies, through politics, right? Everything's about division. And that's what they've done with the powers that be. Because if men and women aren't coming together, forming real true bonds, forming real relationships and connections, well, society becomes weak, the government becomes mommy and daddy, and the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife for both sides. And ultimately, the government is the one who calls the shots because they control the flow of information as long as they keep you divided. Feed us narratives about how terrible each sex is, right? Through the incel, femcel, rage baits accounts on X. And I'm sure a lot of people actually do uphold those beliefs, don't get me wrong. But it's so infuriating to see all this, right? And then there's the guy Homath, right, who's probably very big and a big name on, especially on the X community with this stuff, who is definitely a more intelligent guy and breaks things down good, but he plays a role in dividing one men and women and a political divide and a race divide too now, especially. And I don't want to get into him really right now because, and listen, a lot of you might like him. I'm not saying I disagree with everything he's saying. It's just really what, in the end, his philosophy causes division. That's what it does. And I see he's really justifying quote unquote hate lately. But again, I don't really want to get into him. The overall community is just, it's really sad. There is truth on both sides, incel, femcel, whatever it might be, is what they're saying. But none of them are getting to the root cause of the issue or really tackling anything. X is just all about spewing hate. It's really not. I mean, it's a more intelligent platform than Instagram or TikTok. Of course, there's a lot of stuff you can learn on there, and not everything is complete filth. But a lot of stuff on there just causes division. And what's sad, man, is as I was saying earlier, because it sounds like I might be taking the sides of guys here, but like that YouTube comment that I mentioned too, like it said that I think if men, and I'm not gonna sit here and say all, but if pretty much most men had some sort of partner in their life, a woman who really truly likes them, not a woman who gives them headaches. I'm talking about a woman that he one really truly likes, and a woman that really truly likes him. I think you would see a much happier world, especially with men, because I know a lot of men that a woman would really change their lives. And I wish women realized that their feminine power, because right now women are using their femininity for evil. It's kind of like they're using it as a trap for men to have some sort of upper hand over us. But if women use their femininity for good and for the true purpose it was made for, which is empowering men, because that's something so powerful that women don't even understand they have, is if they supported and empowered real true morality in men. Let's say a bunch of women started doing what I was doing, making podcasts like this. Don't you think we would see such a change in the world? Because even if right now I was a woman doing this, I would get a lot more followers and subs. Because in this particular community, it's dominated by men. And of course, men. A lot of men are lonely. A lot of men are desperate. A lot of men want female companionship, in their lives. And I get it. So me being a guy, right, it's a little bit harder to get support. And again, that's just because the nature of today's world and how it is. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'd get less support if I was a girl or whatever. But women could be using their feminine power, their sacred feminine powers that's been given to them from birth, to empower women, other men for good, for truth, for morality, to make the world actually a better place, not to feed the beast system and the agenda and this narcissistic stuff that we all want to please ourselves with on social media and please our narcissistic friends and family who quite frankly don't know truth. And you guys, I know, pretty much all of you, when you hang out with your friends, you don't talk about truth and morality, right? There's a certain time and place to do it because obviously 99% of people you come across aren't really truly awake. They might realize surface level things, right? But they don't know the bigger picture with most stuff. So anyway, I'll stop digressing, and I know like I went all over the place. It was like the point was like Tinder and all this stuff, but I want you to see how these things interconnect because realistically on Tinder, it's not going to change much because again, the women who are seeking tall men are going to do it regardless. There's a preference option or not, and the women who don't care, right? I'm a short guy, believe me. I'm a very small, below average size guy, and of course, me being short, a lot of women don't like it, but there's plenty of women who don't mind. I mean, I would say most of the women I even go on dates with and stuff, and my girlfriends even that I've had, were either my height or taller than me. It's not like I was taller than them really or anything. So let me know what you guys think. I hope I said something here to help you guys understand the bigger picture of what's really going on here and the real root causal factors that we need to be looking at and tackling besides the surface level. Oh my God, it sounds so bad stuff. But again, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and let me know what